You're in Braves country.
Good afternoon, Braves country. Sergeant Teamus Wooten is joining me today, and we are talking. Not only we're going to get into Braves, we're going to get into Red Sox. We're going to get into everybody's free agency and what's left, but we also do want to talk the Baseball Hall of Fame as it has become known. What was it yesterday? Let me turn I think our volume is a little high. Give me 1 second. Do apologize. There's an application that we use. It takes our volume up and down. That should fix it. Anyways, Ichiro and CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, they get into the Hall of Fame. You need 75% to get in. For those of y'all who can't see the screen. And then you see who's below. Teamus, how the hell are you, sir?
It's 1 degree, so I've been better.
It's not much better here, man. We're in the very low 30s, and if you remember what it's like in Florida when it gets cold, it's a wet cold, so it's not even one of them dry colds. So I guess the whole damn country's feeling it, man. Every time I see someone pop up on social media and talking about what's going on, I'm like, man, it's cold everywhere. Like, you know, you expect the usual suspects, Ohio, Michigan, New York. But when people, I got a guy that I follow and vice versa on X, and he's talking about it's 1 degree, and he's in the middle of Georgia, and they can't keep the house warm enough. And so him and his wife, I guess, sent the kids off to school. They dove under the heating blankets because it's so damn cold in their house. Anyways, the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and we're going to get into all who was eligible, but Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner get in. I want to get your take on it first, on the 3 guys that got in. You got any issues with any of them getting in? Were you surprised at the voting percentage, etc.?
I was a little bit surprised CC got in on the first ballot.
I was.
His numbers are, I think, Hall worthy. I didn't really have him in my head as a first ballot. Ichiro, if you didn't vote for that guy, you should never. You should be lined up against a wall and shot. That guy could do. I mean, he was amazing in all aspects of the game. He could hit, he could throw, he could run, and he did it like in 2 different continents and 2 different leagues. He got over 3,000 hits. So I don't have any issues with. And a lot of people I saw, on X and stuff like that, were pretty bent about Wagner. I'm happy for the guy. I wasn't expecting him to get in.
Well,
but
the only thing I'll say about Wagner, it's not like he got in first ballot, right?
Right. Yeah.
He's been waiting a hot minute. And if you're going to put some of these other closers in, relievers in, I think you're eventually going to start getting guys who aren't even closers get into the Hall of Fame. I think you're going to get like guys who are like career setup guys. Eventually, I think that's where it's going, because the game has changed so much. Yeah. So it's not like that the reliever doesn't. It was different back when we were growing up. People were talking about putting relievers in, and everybody scoffed at it because relievers didn't play a huge role like they do nowadays. You're not winning a championship unless you've got a lockdown reliever.
Relievers,
which is why the LA Dodgers have signed everybody under the damn sun.
Yeah, and because back when when we, in our era of baseball, when we were growing up watching, it was nothing for pitchers to throw 160 pitches in a game and go to the 7th, 8th. If they didn't go past the 7th inning, they did not think they had a very good day at the office. Now you make it to the 5th, then the bullpen takes over. So I agree with you. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to start recognizing those middle relief guys for the role they've played, because baseball's just changed. It's not like that wasn't the Nolan Ryan era,
Right. And I've got something to throw at you. I couldn't get a good enough picture to put it on the screen, so I'm just going to throw this at you. So for everybody that wants to talk about how CC belonged in on the first ballot, all right, I'm not going to push back on that. I still say his numbers are barely Hall worthy, and the idea that he gets on the first ballot, there's a lot of factors, but one of them is the fact that he's a New York Yankee. That's got a lot to do with it. But listen to this. I'm going head to head with another pitcher who recently was left off the Hall of Fame, and no steroids in his past or anything like that. Okay. CC Sabathia's WAR is 62.3. This man's was 79.5. I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I can't see what the hell I'm looking at. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. All right, so we're talking about a WAR of well over, what is that? Almost, well, no, it's 17 over, which is quite considerable. They pitched in almost the same amount of games, 569, 561. The game started. CC actually had 560. This gentleman 436 because he started as a reliever. Innings pitched, CC about 300 more. The win-loss, he's got more wins by about 30, but once again, this guy had 22 saves, and our wins as important as they used to be. I don't think they are. This guy's lifetime ERA is .30 lower than CC's. I don't go to ERA plus because expected stats are fables. The strikeouts. This guy less than 100 more, but he did have more strikeouts. Strikeout percentage 3% higher than CC Sabathia. And his walk percentage 2% lower. So this is a dominant pitcher, and he never got into the Hall of Fame. Championships. This guy won 1, 2, 3. CC won 1. They both had 6 All-Stars. CC did have a Cy Young. He didn't win a Cy Young. But the one thing I'll say about Cy Youngs and MVPs, there's always this argument that you have to have one to get in or be considered great. I don't buy that because there are years where guys get snubbed for different reasons. And sometimes you're just going up against it all. Like, for instance, in this era, someone in the National League who doesn't win the MVP because Shohei Ohtani's hogging them all. I mean, what? I mean, we're going to just leave everybody out other than Shohei? That's ridiculous.
And, Nolan Ryan never won a Cy Young.
Right. And this guy also has a World Series MVP. They both have league championships MVPs. You want to take a wild guess of who that is?
There's one name that popped out, but it's not him because he flat out said he didn't want to go. I was thinking Schilling, but it's not him.
Ding, 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 ding. That's
it?
Schilling. His numbers are much more dominant than CC Sabathia's. And I'm not trying to pile on CC. I like CC. I've always found his every time I come across his podcast, I don't listen to it much, but every time I come across his podcast, it's always entertaining. I like CC. But Kurt Schilling, that is a damn travesty. And it was all because of politics and all that kind of crap, which had nothing to do with what the man did on the field. He didn't cheat the game. He didn't do any of that.
And if you look at his playoff record, his postseason record, what is he, 11-2 in the postseason as a starter? I mean, that's the guy you want pitching for you, Look,
don't get me wrong. Schilling said some stupid things, but I still contend the number one reason why Kurt Schilling is not in the Hall of Fame is because he was vocal about being a supporter of the man who just got sworn into the Oval Office 2 days ago. And so it's kind of funny because it comes full circle that this is a guy that, because of the media, the left-wing media, they didn't want to put him in, and they would almost catch themselves at times, but you knew what the hell they were mad about, right? And now you're talking about overwhelming majority of the country backs the same guy, and Schilling is left out.
Now, and he's past his 10 years too. He can't get in. Right?
Yeah. Well, now he will get in the Hall of Fame. The Veterans Committee is going to put him in. I'd be shocked if they don't. And I can't remember what year he comes eligible for that, but it's usually it comes in cycles. So it'll be like 10, 15, that kind of thing. So in about a decade, I think he'll get in. He made his comment right before the final voting of his 10th year when he said that he didn't want to be in.
Right.
That he'll wait for his peers to put him in. But I think that was just a self-defense mechanism because he knew they weren't going to vote him in.
Now, and obviously he'll always, the bloody sock game and all that. If you're a Red Sox fan, I'm hoping what he did to Wake and his family recently, it's going to, a lot of the players aren't going to forget about that. So, that they may hold that against him.
Yeah, I still don't think that was even intentional. I just think he just did a boneheaded thing, one of these things where he stuck his foot in his mouth,
I don't know. He had a conversation.
You know what? Even still, it doesn't matter. What the hell's that got to do with what the man did on the field?
Well, I agree. I'm just saying, but the players, players are probably going to hold that against him.
Guys out and not vote guys in because of what they've done off the field. I mean, can we have a discussion? Can we have a discussion about O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm
It's
just playing devil's advocate and
I'm
saying
just saying
some,
the whole
you know,
thing, it's a moot point. We'll move on, but I found that very interesting. I knew in my heart of hearts that he was much better, right? But I didn't realize it was that much more dominant.
yeah, he was. I mean, can you
Well,
and think
because
back
I
those
think,
Arizona teams with him and Randy Johnson going back to back? I mean,
yeah, I'm just saying that when I think of CC, I think of a pretty dominant pitcher. So I don't think of it leaps. I don't think of it for people who don't follow WAR. 17 is a huge number, and it's basically saying that a guy who contributed about the same amount of time is worth almost 3 really good seasons more than him.
I never thought of CC as dominant. I thought he was good, but I
He was
thought he was.
dominant, but I don't think for as long. Would you agree with that? I mean, in 2009, even before he arrived in Cleveland, in that last year when he was in Milwaukee, when he made he put those teams on his shoulders.
Yeah, that I'll agree with, sure. But that was a very small, in a long career. That was a, very short bookends in my mind. And
Well, I don't think you followed him at the beginning of his career. I mean, he was pretty damn good in Cleveland. He was in the season that he had when he got traded to Milwaukee is an all-timer. Because not only did he go in and carry that team to the playoffs, he went, and his is a small market team, and he knew he was about to hit free agency. He knew Milwaukee was not going to. Let's just put this out there. This wouldn't happen today. He knew that Milwaukee was not going to pony up and spend any money to try to bring him in long term. But he went to them and said, you can pitch me every fourth day, 3 days rest for like the last 4 or 5 turns of the season. Do you think anybody would do that today? Hell no.
No.
Max Fried would have done that. His arms would have fell off. And probably not even his pitching arm. So I'm just saying, like, I think because of that season, I don't have a problem with him being first ballot Hall of Fame. But when you compare him to Kurt Schilling, it's absurd.
Yeah, agreed.
The Veterans Committee, by the way, I think they're going to right the wrong of Dale Murphy eventually. Do
you think, though, they will go for Bonds and Clemens and those guys?
We won't see it, not in our lifetime. I think it'll be the people who are too young to have remembered it. I mean, we may see it, but it'll be towards the end of our lifetime. I just feel like that the guys who are currently in that Veterans Committee and voting, they are people who, most of them, who hold that against. You know, guys like John Smoltz still talk about the fact that he didn't take any of the PEDs, and why the hell should they be celebrated when him and others did it the right way and they did not? And I can't have a pushback on that.
No, I he's not wrong. I'm not one of those people, oh, he did steroids, so he does. I'm not that guy. But then again, I wasn't a player either, and for multiple reasons. And someone like John Smoltz, who played the game the way he did and dominated the way he did, yeah, he gets a say, I think. I mean, he absolutely gets a say, and he's not wrong for feeling that way.
So Gary and John are debating back and forth about Dale Murphy. The one thing I'll say about Dale Murphy, most home runs, most RBIs of the 1980s, it's Dale Murphy. That's saying something.
Over Don Mattingly?
Yeah. Don Mattingly? Yeah, Don Mattingly.
In the 90s, Don Mattingly was...
Don Mattingly is a home run hitter? Hell no.
No, I'm saying RBIs.
Yeah. Huh. First of all, Don Mattingly played in the American League. So, but second of all, I mean, Don Mattingly was good, but I think you misremember him. I think a lot of people of our era remember him as like an all-time great. He's mid. He's a glorified mid, but once again, he was one of the pinstripes. If Don Mattingly played for the Seattle Mariners, you would never even mention him. I'd be like, I don't know. I'll tell you what, growing up as a kid and I wasn't a Yankees fan, he was one of my favorite players.
Yeah. I mean, I was never a Yankees fan, but I liked old
When I go back
guy.
to look at Don Mattingly's numbers, I go, damn. I was kind of a fanboy over nothing. He's kind of, he wasn't a great glove. He was solid. He was a slap hitter. He had a little bit of power, but he wasn't anything outstanding.
I think maybe he was just the best Yankee during that era because they weren't, Well,
I'd say Dave Winfield, but yeah, he's right there. I mean, I think a lot. Now, here's one of the things I want to bring up before we get into the other stuff. So Tom Verducci, because I'm going to get your picks here in a second, but Tom Verducci, very well-known writer, he published his ballot, as did Joel Sherman, and I'll get into that in a second. John Verducci voted for just 4 guys, and you can vote up to 10 for people who may not be aware of it. And you don't have to vote for anybody. It's your right. There's thousands of writers that vote on this now. I want to say it's in the just below 1,500 now, but I can't remember the exact number. It goes up and down every year, so it's hard to keep up. But he voted for 4 guys, the 3 that got in, and Carlos Beltran, and that's it. And I'm going to hold that against Tom Verducci because you're one of the reasons why Andruw Jones didn't isn't getting into the Hall of Fame yet. This wasn't a loaded class. We just had it on the screen. There are certain years where you're like, man, if I was in that position, I'd probably vote for him just to keep his name going, but I wouldn't have high expectations that Andrew's going to get in. But Andruw, so he'll have 2 more seasons after this. And Andruw came in with 66%, and him and Joel Sherman both left him off. I'll pull up Joel Sherman's here in a second, but I just want to get your take on that when you look at that and you realize that this guy could have voted for a few more people and he only picked 4. Oh, okay. So Sherman had the exact same as Verducci, except, well, not the exact same. He took CC Ichiro. He actually left Billy Wagner off, but he had Carlos Beltran and Chase Utley. And those are 2 of the more famous writers that are out there in American baseball, social media, and in the actual print business right now.
So what I'm just to be clear, you feel Andruw belongs in?
Absolutely. 10 consecutive Gold Gloves and over 400 home runs. And he was in that era. And I still think he gets penalized for this. And it makes no sense. If you're not going to let the guys in the Hall of Fame because they did steroids, you can't penalize the guys who didn't do steroids for not having the same numbers that they did. He has a 62.7 WAR. Does that sound familiar? CC Sabathia's got the same damn WAR. I think what he gets penalized for is at the tail end of his career. No one's going to argue that Andruw Jones was phenomenal at the tail end of his career. I would never do that. Pretty much after he left Atlanta, he was cooked. He went out to the Dodgers for whatever reason. He couldn't stay healthy for a couple of seasons because he only played 75 games in LA and I think 82 in Texas. I mean, I don't even remember him playing in Texas, but it's
I was about to say I couldn't have told you who he played for after he left Atlanta, honestly.
And then he got banged up again towards the end of the 2010 season when he was with the White Sox, and it carried over to his first season with the Yankees. And by the time his final season, well, he was 35 at the time, his final season in 2012, he played 94, but at that point, it was pretty much a platoon because he had absolutely gotten out of shape. But I mean, I just want to. I'll just read some numbers to you. From 1998 until 2003. So we're talking about 6 consecutive years of 31, 26, 36, 34, 35, and 36 home runs. Then he had 29 in 2004, which isn't really chopped liver. The next 2 years after that, 51 and 41. And he still had 26 in 2007. Realistically, from 98 to 2007, he was the best center fielder in baseball defensively and offensively. You could have made some comparisons with him because remember, Ken Griffey Jr. had a couple of injured seasons, and Torrey Hunter was like this. So yeah, I mean, I think it's overdue. What do I think? Andruw Jones was necessarily a first, second, or third, but no. But by this time, in that list that we have going into the Hall of Fame, it's just overdue. And then once again, don't forget 10 consecutive Gold Gloves. It's the same guy that Willie Mays himself said was the best defensive center fielder he ever saw.
Yeah, what does Willie Mays know?
Yeah.
I mean, and think about it. He came up when he was 19. He played wasn't he in the World Series at 19?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the youngest player to ever hit a home run in the postseason, and he hit in the World Series, and he became just the second player ever to hit 2 home runs in his first 2 at bats in the World Series. I can't remember who the other guy was, but
I remember he could bat. But dude, anytime I think of Andruw Jones, I think of him covering. If he didn't catch it, it couldn't be caught.
I agree.
That dude could play outfield, and center field is difficult. You know, it's a difficult position. And he was a teenager out there just, I mean, and 10 years in a row. I mean, 10 gold. Come on. That you don't get lucky 10 years in a row. You know, you do that from talent.
And once again, I thought Chipper Jones made a very good point, and sometimes he gets liquored up and goes off the deep ends on Twitter or on X. And I would love to defend everything that Chipper always says because he's one of my favorite players of all time. But sometimes I go, ooh, you're upside down in that 4x4 in that 4-wheeler out there in the snow right now with the little whiskey falling out. But he made the comment, the observation, I think it was last night, that do you think Andruw Jones isn't in the Hall of Fame if he would have played in New York or Boston or, you know, maybe even Chicago or LA? He's probably in the Hall of Fame, but he was playing in Atlanta. And though that is still a national brand, and back then he was in everybody's living rooms on TBS every night, but it doesn't have the glitz and the glamour of one of the big major cities. I know Atlanta's growing and all that stuff, so don't at me on that horse malarkey. But I'm just saying that at the time, what's still being known as the baseball royalty, it begins in New York, and then it splinters off in Boston and LA, and you can make an argument Chicago, St. Louis, but Atlanta's always been overshadowed. And I think he had a serious argument because I'm not buying the fact that if he would have been wearing pinstripes during his dominant years, that he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's tough to argue that, really.
Not to mention the fact he was the guy that the 3-headed monster of Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz, who were all in the Hall of Fame, that said he made our jobs a hell of a lot easier because we knew who was standing behind us.
Yeah, he brought their ERA down considerably because I'm telling you, if it was hit anywhere and he didn't run it down.
Yeah. So I'm curious, who would you have voted in?
Well, like I said, I wouldn't have put CC in this year.
Okay.
Omar Vizquel, he would have got my vote. Carlos Beltran, I had Andruw. and Pettit. Now, I did have one question. And I'm sure you're going to know who I'm talking about right off the get-go, but is it possible to look at someone's career that was cut short because of injury if you concentrate on the numbers? Because I know usually you get 3,000 hits, you're automatically in this and that and that. But if someone is
that's
injured,
kind of the argument that I just made for Andruw Jones, because he was not healthy his last 4 years of his career.
Well, I'm talking Pedroia. I mean,
yeah, I
think
his numbers are a little underwhelming, but I still think.
I mean, he
ever
played
got
what
put in just because of what he did. I honestly, as a non-Red Sox fan, I wouldn't pitch a bitch. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd be like, dude, that guy was the heart and soul of the team. And
think about who was on. You say that, but think about who was on that team that he played with. I mean, you're talking Poppy. I mean,
and Poppy is one of the few that got in known as a known steroid user. So that's why I wouldn't have a problem with putting Pedroia in there, because PD was never. It's kind of ironic that PD was never accused of PEDs, but
I mean, he was Rookie of the Year. He won 4 Gold Gloves.
How many World Series was he there for?
3.
Okay.
Yeah, 7.
So he wasn't there for the 04 one, right?
No, he come up in 07.
07?
Yeah, he come up in 7.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. But I think Pettit should get in. Obviously, like I said, Ichiro, if you didn't vote for that guy, I mean,
Pettit's biggest problem is that PED user, right? So that's one of those guys that if they ever start letting the roid users in, he's getting in. But I can't make a solid argument for him, because I personally won't vote for anyone who does steroids, but I know that I am not in the biggest majority like it used to be. We're dwindling, but I will never vote for someone who is a known steroid user, because I don't think it's fair when I've heard the arguments from guys like Smoltz and others who will stand on that and say, because it's hard for me, who never played in Major League Baseball, go, oh, get over it. What? No, man, these guys put their entire lives, they're out there, the blood, sweat, and tears. And for a baseball writer or some bozo behind a microphone like me to go, well, just get over it. Now, I've got to respect what they're coming from.
Yeah, they're looking at it from a completely different perspective than we are, and their perspective is the one that counts. Let's be honest. They're the ones.
If I ever hear Smoltz, I'll put it this way. I'll just call it the Smoltz rule. If I ever hear John Smoltz say, it's been long enough, let him in, then I'll go, all right. But
I mean, do you feel that way even about like pitcher, like Pettit was a pitcher?
Yes, because I know they're not necessarily getting home run strength, but what they are doing is those PEDs are getting them to rehabilitate much quicker, and they're going to be much stronger, and that's an unfair advantage. Maddox didn't do that. Smoltz didn't do that. Glavine damn sure didn't do that. That was like a butterfly hitting the mitt. So I don't think it's fair. But
would you put Omar in?
Is it fair to hold it against the hitters, but don't hold it against the pitchers that were cheating? Yeah, that's not right.
No, it's not.
That's like saying, that's like saying that if you took the steroid controversy to football and say, well, the quarterbacks have an advantage, but the left guard doesn't. What? No. What?
No, it's fair point. Would you put Omar Vizquel in?
So my list is this. Omar Vizquel is actually number 1 with the bullet for me. I've been pounding the table that he belongs in, because he's the greatest defensive shortstop to ever play the game of baseball. And if you don't believe that, just go back and watch his videos. And people are going to say, oh, Ozzie Smith, because we knew about his nickname in the Wizard of Oz, and he was on very good teams that were always in the playoffs. But Omar Vizquel, and I was not as literate to this during the height of his career. It was until much later towards the end. I was like, God bless, that dude is always doing things.
Yeah, he was fun to watch.
The problem is he doesn't have a championship like Ozzie, and he was a much lighter hitter. I don't care, man. That dude was unbelievable with the glove, and that should be celebrated. Outside of that, first of all, can we talk about why the hell is Troy Tulowitzki and David Wright still even on, or Ben Zobrist? Why are these guys on these lists? But so I'm putting him in, and the number 2 is going to be Andruw Jones. I really wouldn't have voted for Wagner, but if it was actually a vote that was going to be counted, I probably would have at the end like this, because I would have said, he's eventually going to get in. Why should I be the one that keeps him out? Right.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones that are on there, Manny did steroids. A-Rod did steroids, but both of them did it several times. Other guys just fall short. Jimmy Rollins should be in the Phillies Hall of Fame. He should be in a Hall of Very, Very Good if there's ever one, but he's not quite Hall of Fame worthy for me.
I feel that way about Hunter.
I think Jimmy Rollins and Pedroia have a lot in common. They were cogs in championship teams. They don't have the overall numbers is the problem.
Right.
Brian McCann. I wouldn't vote for Brian McCann in the Hall of Fame. I'll tell you what, he was a damn good catcher for a long time. But then towards the end, and, you don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it this way. Brian McCann was on that Houston Astros team that was cheating like a son of a gun. I know the Red Sox 18 team was cheating, but with the 17 team of the Astros was taking it to the next level. So I have a hard time getting over that, and that's why I'm not voting for Carlos Beltran. I know he'll get in.
Yeah, he'll get in. You know who I don't even I looked up his numbers. Who I don't believe should be on this list is Felix Hernandez. Now, he was a fun to watch guy.
Is this his first year? Because if it's
his numbers, I don't know, man. That I'm not impressed.
I want to say this might be his first year. If it's first year, is eligible. If not, you have to get 5%. I can't remember that off the top of that. I mean, that's the same thing with Russell Martin. Like, what the hell is Russell Martin? But we don't think of that because we're looking at the full ballot.
Or Ian Kinsler.
Right. I mean, honestly, Ian Kinsler's got a lot in common with Dustin Pedroia. The difference is Dustin Pedroia won the championships.
Well, Ian Kinsler did too. He won in 18 with us.
Was he on that team?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He didn't win that championship. He just happened to be hanging around.
He played, but no, he didn't win it for us. That would have been Mookie Betts.
William Contreras won a World Series with the Atlanta Braves, but Travis d'Arnaud caught every damn pitch of the 2021 postseason. So I don't know if I can count that, right? So Andruw Jones is there for me. Torrey Hunter and Adam Jones were two really good players, but they didn't have the length of the career. But they're two of my favorite players I ever watched because for whatever reason, I always had them in fantasy.
Yeah, I like both of those guys. Adam Jones.
Same thing with Curtis Granderson. Curtis Granderson was a hell of a player for about a 7-8 year pocket.
Yeah.
But then outside of that, CC, obviously, Ichiro is a no doubter. The fact that the one person that voted against him is a joke, but people are making a bigger deal out of it than it should have been because there's only ever been one guy. I would like to see a second one just so they can quit bringing up the fact that Mario Rivera is the only one, because the idea that he's the only one who's ever been worthy is the stupidest crap on the planet. I will actually give a pass to the very first inductees. So like the class of I got the picture here somewhere. Who the Babe Ruth class and everything, because you were picking from everybody who had ever played at that point. There wasn't going to be 100%, right?
Right.
But 10 to 15 years into the Hall of Fame, we should have gotten over ourselves and started having 100% guys in there. No reason why Ted Williams, who was inducted in the late 60s, early 70s, or somewhere in that neighborhood, by then, the Hall of Fame had been around for 30 years. We should have gotten over ourselves. At that point, I think it just became tradition.
Yeah. If Teddy Ballgame's not getting in on 100%, I mean, what possible reason would you have to say, and during his prime years, he was fighting the Nazis,
Yeah, exactly. Twice.
Twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Korea. Yeah.
So not only is one of the greatest players of all time, greatest hitters of all time,
He's a war hero.
I say years later, he didn't vote for him because of his fielding. I can't defend his fielding, but my God, if the man hadn't been in 2 major wars, he would have had a ton of the records.
He would have had them all, but
most of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only player to ever hit 400. Need I say more? I mean,
well, the last. He wasn't the only. He was the last. Several people did it before him. But he's I mean, that right there, we can go down that rabbit hole all day long.
All day and tomorrow as well.
Joe DiMaggio didn't get freaking 100% of the votes. Joe freaking DiMaggio.
Hank Aaron.
Yeah, Hank Aaron.
That guy sucked.
Willie Mays. I mean,
Willie Mays. Yeah, Willie Mays.
On.
Yeah.
No, but the guy that came in and pitched 1 inning 3 times a week, we put him in.
And never in a million years am I ever going to get a vote to Fernando Rodney with that stupid arrow thing.
Gary's on the punch, man. He said Travis d'Arnaud will make the Hall of Fame one day. In what? He might make a Braves Hall of Fame somehow. Probably not, though, because they haven't put many guys in. But Travis d'Arnaud is like that his numbers don't overwhelm you, and just like that picture you showed me of that girl you were dating way back in the day, he's like 60.
No, she just looked 60. I'm telling you, it's because she did meth. How many times do I have to clear it up?
You let her go, man.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yep, I did.
Yeah, egg all over your face on that one.
We'll call it egg. Sure.
Oof. All right, let's move on. But anyways, I did want to get your take on that. Let's hit this up real quick as we transition, because we did put something together for Andruw Jones. I guess it's around a year ago that I put this together. But anyways, here's the Andruw Jones tribute that we put together.
The left center. Can Andruw catch up with it? A diving catch ends the game!
Hit to deep right center field. Andruw Jones. Oh, good night. That's why that man's a Gold Glover. I mean, that saved 3 runs.
Where Singles Would Go to Die by D.M. McGee, 2024. He'd lean forth an inch, closer and closer. We all came to see 25. Our pitchers were fearless, on the hill with no worries, backed by the greatest center fielder alive. Into the gap? Ha, that's a laugh. Jones was faster than light. Andruw would dart more like an art, the crowd oohing and awing with sighs. Bombs from the plate, speed on the base, a swing and a smile and big fly. But we came to gaze, and were always amazed, where Singles would go to die. Where Singles Would Go to Die by D.M. McGee, 2024.
Eat your heart out, Willie Mays.
Exactly. That's a tougher play than Willie Mays made.
Darn tootin'.
All right, so let's go ahead and switch up and talk the world of baseball. So I sent a text to you earlier this week when we were setting up this show. I'm just curious if you've heard anything on your end. There was a buzz about the Red Sox and Alex Bregman. Have you heard anything as far as that getting done?
As of this morning, everybody's saying the same thing. The talks with Detroit have stalled, and they're everybody, not just Boston analysts, but the world of baseball, what I'm hearing is that it will happen with the Sox and he will play second. It just is not going to happen soon. As soon as in like the next day or two. Now, we got a month left until he needs to be in uniform somewhere. But I I don't really know if it's the years that he wants that's holding it up, or are we in a staring
He's going to
contest
play second base, right?
Yeah, he's going to play second. And Story, with his glass jaw, is going to play the first 3 games at short, and then God knows who. But I don't know if we're in a staring contest with Scott Boras like we did with JD Martinez. When we signed JD Martinez, remember, it was like 2 weeks before, because he was asking for all of this and all these years and everything, and we're just like, no, no, no. And then finally got it done right before spring training. This kind of has that feel. I think I really believe he winds up playing for us, and I hope he does. I've always liked him. And we need a right-handed bat, and he murders at Fenway. He killed us at Fenway. And it'd be really nice to have those stats in our favor this time. But, because of the stalls with Detroit and everything, that seems pretty much dead. I mean, it's on life support if it's still alive.
I can tell you what's on life support is the Atlanta Braves offseason. This has been the biggest bunch of horse crap. For the first time this offseason, we chose to do a weekly show to keep you up to date on what was going on with the Atlanta Braves, and of course catch up on the rest of Major League Baseball. And we haven't done diddly. And
who has besides the Dodgers, though? Really,
dude?
The Sox haven't.
Some movement by some teams. They
Yeah,
haven't.
there's been here and there, but I mean, it's the vacuum that is Dodgers.
The Yankees brought in Max Fried. They brought in Devin Williams. I mean, there's teams that are bringing in trades as well. It's not. I'm not expecting the moon and stars in the free agency, but something. Instead, we got rid of our most productive catcher last year in Travis d'Arnaud. I know he's getting older, but whatever. We got rid of Jorge Soler, who would have been the guy out in you could have put him in left field this. I don't know why they didn't feel like they couldn't put him in left field, but you could have put him in left field. And the idea, what we were sold, the bag of goods that we were sold was, well, it's to free up money. Okay. To do what? You haven't brought anyone in. And so that alone, off of those 2 players, and you count a couple of the other deals that they did to move some stuff around, they opened up right at $20 million. We're 24 under the luxury tax. And I'm all for saving some of this for the trade deadline, because we are always at the trade deadline and we're flat broke. We can't do anything. So for us to make a move, you have to give them all your big time prospects, because you're wanting them to take on the money, and nobody ever wants to do that. So I'm not saying let's just go bananas and go sign someone just to sign someone. But at least can we shore up the bullpen? Because we can probably BS our way through the season until Strider gets going. And I know most fan bases are laughing, going, you want us to feel sorry for you jackasses? You've got Chris Sale. You've got, should have at some point, Spencer Strider, Ronaldo Lopez, and Spencer Schwellenbach. That's an elite top 4 starting pitcher. I get that. But we've got a huge hole offensively at shortstop. We've got a huge hole in the outfield, because until Acuna comes back, you've got Jared Kelenic in left, and then I don't know what the hell we're going to do with right field. I have huge concerns that some of the people watching the video right now are going to be trying out for right field in about 2 weeks. And as far as the pitching goes, we need to have a little more depth in the bullpen, because Joe Jimenez is not pitching this year. He may show up at the other end of the All-Star break, but you know as well as I do, whenever they tell you he ought to be available sometime around the All-Star break, that son of a gun never takes the field. All you get is updates about how he's starting his minor league rehab, and how you can take whatever player you want. Eventually they have a setback, and then you never see them. So I am upset because there's nobody left. There's scrap heat left. The only major name that I can say is out there is Jack Flaherty, but I don't think the Braves are gonna sign him because he's 29, so he wants a 3 or 4 year deal, and I don't think he's worth what he's been asking for. Now, if his asking price goes way down, all right, maybe, but I don't think that's where he's at. So the idea, Gary's asking why freeing up the money. The idea would be is that when you get to the trade deadline, you can take on people's contracts and you don't have to give much up in the trade market. And I'm okay if we wanted to take a different route, because most years Anthopoulos goes in and he has always been a big proponent of doing all the shopping in the offseason, not in the midseason. At the midseason, at the trade deadline, he tries to do one or two things. And because he caught lightning in a bottle in 2021, everyone expects something like that. But that stuff never happens. If you want to actually compete and make a deep run in October, you normally have to take on salary. But I would like to see them bring in the tipping point with me when it's all said and done was letting Tanner Scott go to the Dodgers. And then Kirby Yates went to the Dodgers. And I'm like, for the love of God, can we throw some money at anybody? We know we like Kirby Yates. He was a Brave 2 years ago, and he had an all-time season last year. I do believe that the Dodgers overpaid for him, but they don't give a crap because they're burning money. Anyways, end rant. What do you got to say?
Yeah, the Dodgers, I mean, can you fault them for doing what they're doing? I don't know. I if this was the Sox doing it, I would be.
No, I don't fault the Dodgers at all. I fault the Major League Baseball Players Association. How about that for a twist? Because they refuse to agree to a salary cap. And that's what the sport needs. The sport needs a hard salary cap, but they got to get something in return, right? It needs a hard salary floor. If you have a hard salary cap and a hard salary floor, you're going to have a very competitive league. And that's all I want as a fan. I don't think it's right that the Marlins haven't spent a dime. And they will continue to not spend a dime. But it's also not right that right now, as we speak right now, and they will probably make a couple of trades to get rid of some guys, because eventually you're going to run out of room on your 40-man roster. Is what's going to happen with the Dodgers. But I mean, they're the San Francisco 49ers of the 1980s, where Steve Young is backing up Joe Montana, and you're like, really? This guy can't even start anywhere else because you have the rights to him? But the Dodgers right now, their expected salary is $388 million. To give you an idea of what that means, the Atlanta Braves right now is 214. The luxury tax is 241, or is it 244 this year? It keeps going up incrementally. Anyways, they're 140 easily over the salary cap, closer to 150. Or the luxury tax. They don't give a crap about losing a draft pick because they're going to keep buying players. And they don't give a crap about paying the extra tax because they're made of gold out there.
It's good work if you can get it. I mean, I just gotta tip my cap to them. They're,
I can say one thing: whoever's running the LA Dodgers, the whole lot of them, and I know most of them came from the Tampa Bay Rays. I knew this was going to be a problem down the road, because when you give the guys that used to run the Tampa Bay Rays LA Dodger money, like, what are we doing, right? But they need to send a couple of those guys and help them run the fire department, because they're doing a hell of a lot better job than anybody else. But it's just, I mean, it's sickening. and I would never wish injuries on anybody, but this will be the first time ever that if a team gets an injury, meaning the Dodgers, I'm not going to have any sympathy for them. I'm like, you got 9 other guys you're going to roll out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever even those Yankee teams that won all the time.
Loaded.
They were never this loaded.
This is truly the evil empire.
I don't recall ever. I mean, they are jacked out there. Every good player above good player is wearing Dodger blue now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's but you know, the players, and it's funny they're trying to say, well, everyone likes it. The players love this. Do they? Because you're only talking about a handful of guys. The rest of the league is looking at it and going, this is bull crap.
Can you imagine the other teams in their division that's going to have to see them all season long? Because it's easy for us to sit on the East Coast and be like, oh, well, good for them, whatever. But we're not playing them, 12, 13 times a season.
You're extremely fortunate because you probably only play them 3, maybe 4 times.
Right.
We'll play them 6, but once again, what's really going to come down to is when you get in the playoffs, if you're lucky enough to make the postseason, you get into I mean, honestly, I want to see them in a 5-game series. It's not going to happen because it could, but I would rather play the Dodgers in a 5-game series than a 7-game series. The way they're currently set up, you're going to beat them 4 out of 7 times. You got to catch. Somebody's got to catch them in that first round after the wildcard round. The first round where it's a best of 5, and someone's got to catch them and knock them on their ass. That's the only way to get them out.
They're going to have to catch them asleep.
In years before, the problem with the Dodgers was always they didn't have the pitching. Well, that's gone.
That's not an issue anymore.
I mean, they got so many guys. They got so many guys, and I know some of them are coming back off of injury. It doesn't even matter if they come back because they're going to have other dudes. And oh, by the way, everyone keeps forgetting Shohei Ohtani's going to pitch this year. And they're going to have the ability to have like a 6-man, 7-man rotation if they want to labor the innings out.
Or they'll send some number 3 starter or an ace for another team down to AAA just to make room on their roster. I don't think they have enough places for everybody.
Well, think about this. Roki Sasaki signed a minor league deal. He's not on the 40-man. There's no pressure to bring him up until August, September. Get his feet under him.
That's so smart, though.
No, it's crooked, is what it is.
No, that's not crooked.
No, it is. I'll tell you why. This is the part of it that I don't like more than anything else. In the international system of signing players, there really ought to be a draft because there's no money difference. So they're locked in to certain tiers. A lot of people don't realize that. They're locked into certain tiers. They can only get X amount of money. So if that's the case, a guy who's coming over from overseas should not be able to just cherry pick and go, I want to go play for the Dodgers. They should be able, there should be a realistic, and it's not like Roki Sasaki is a slam dunk. He's probably going to be very good, but you don't know that. But I'm not just talking about the kids coming over from Chimpanzee. I'm talking about the kids coming from the Dominican and whatnot. They need to set it up in some version of a draft system that if you have the money to spend, you can select that player. It's not good. I'm telling you right now, it's not good for the sport to have one dominant team, especially when that dominant team is out on the left coast. 75% of the population is east of the Mississippi. So if you have one team that's running through everybody and they're on the West Coast where their games are starting at 10 o'clock Eastern, fans are going to lose interest. It's the same crap that happened to the NBA. That the
Yeah,
fact.
I agree with that part. I don't necessarily agree with you on the international player scenario. I I don't think the
How else can
draft
you
is the
regulate?
answer. I'm sorry.
How else can you regulate it?
Owners need to cough up the money. LA did.
Okay, so that's the point that you're missing. They didn't pay Roki Sasaki more. He just chose that he wanted to play there because
Okay, so but still the
because
fact
the
and
team,
but
because the
they're
team
sending they
is
can send him down to AAA and everything so he can get used to American baseball, which is different than Japan
that's not
and
the
all that stuff.
point. The point is it fair for that team to continue to acquire these players when it's got nothing to do with the draft system? They've never played in Major League Baseball, so they haven't really earned the right to be a free agent, but they're being treated like a free agent.
Okay, I see your point there. Yes, that on that I can get on board. You're absolutely right about that.
And if that
I didn't
doesn't
think
make you mad enough, I'm seeing some replay. What the hell is this? Anyways, they just showed Johnny Damon in a Yankee jersey, and he's clean cut and everything. Man, I'll never forget when Johnny Damon signed with the Yankees. You were hot under the collar.
Why are you bringing up old stuff, man?
I just man, I look it's Mariners and Yankees. I'm assuming it's got something to do with Ichiro.
No, he did an interview and said that the Yankees are better off that they didn't sign Soto.
They're playing it's a full game. It's Yankees.
Well, I don't care. He was in
I don't know
I don't care.
Yeah, but I'm just saying because it's what's his name? Boy, ticking off two people in one shot. You got Johnny Damon standing on third, and at the plate's Mark Teixeira. Which I was so mad when he left the Braves. Oh, I was so mad when they traded him. God, I was furious.
Yeah, I went through some whiskey when Johnny Damon jumped into pinstripes. I did not handle that well.
All right. Dirtbag Teixeira leaving the Braves. Anyways, of course, at the time I didn't know we were letting him walk because some guy by the name of Freddie Freeman was around the corner.
Yeah, I was about to say you did okay afterwards. However,
Freddie could have played third. Freddie could have played third. we could have put Chipper out and left. I'm telling you right now, you know what I'm ready to do? You know what I'm ready to do? I'm ready to sign Pete Alonso and put that fat bastard out in left field. It's like it can't get any worse, man. Just go. Just go. Why not? Anyways, we got to jam up out of here. I got stuff I got to get done. What is your walk-off, sir?
baseball lost a great one. The Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker passed this past week, and if there was ever a more entertaining or funnier or somebody you just wanted to have a beer with as far as baseball goes, I've never heard of him. He was the best around, and baseball is gonna be just never the same without old Bob Uecker. God bless him.
Yeah, man. He is of all the play-by-play guys, I'd have to think about it, but he's definitely one of my top idols and probably my favorite ever.
Did you know, fun fact about Bob Uecker, he was a guest on the Johnny Carson show more than anybody else in history.
Did you know, fun fact about Bob Uecker? He was a host on Saturday Night Live more than even Denzel Washington.
Really?
Of course, Denzel still has time to catch him, but not the point. He was, I want to say 4 or 5 times he was a host over the years.
Well, they have the 5-time club. There's several of those, so it had to be more than that.
I don't know if Denzel's at the 5-time club. I just read that when I was writing the article for X, I came across that statistic. I found it very interesting because I figured Denzel had been on there. I mean, not nowadays. I don't think you can get anyone good nowadays. They'd be like, who the hell watches SNL? That thing hasn't been worth a damn in a decade. But back in the day, it was prestigious to actually be a guest on there. My walk-off is this. Braves country today. This is the last one we will do until the Braves do something. because I'm tired of spinning my wheels every Friday. And next weekend you got the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, next weekend is the weekend between the Super Bowl. But unless something comes in, I'm not doing these to talk about nothing.
Taking my ball and I'm going home.
This will be there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
What the hell am I gonna do? Sit here and
I know. Dude, I feel the same way.
We will be doing Braves Country Todays, but it's literally going to be when news drops, because I've got to wait for them to actually make a move. So we'll be doing these up until the beginning of spring training. Then when spring training goes, I've talked about this before, but I might try to do some shows with UT. But as far as the solo shows, I'm going to go over most of our stuff during the live broadcast. And as soon as they get it nailed down as far as what games will be available, I will have the spring training show ready for you. But I'm in the middle of changing some stuff, and I'm doing all the editing and stuff for the upcoming season. And honestly, to take the time out to stay here and go, well, we didn't get that guy either. Once a week, I feel like I'm driving everyone into like an alcoholic coma on Friday. So
that does not sound like you.
No, but we will be here for the Super Bowl show on the Saturday before the Super Bowl. Like I said, when news drops, expect the show. But when it's not dropping, expect that I'm just cursing the gods, sticking my fist out the window, yelling at the clouds. All right, I thought I had the Hall of Fame thing for Andruw Jones, but I don't believe I have that video for some reason. I know we uploaded it to our YouTube page, so if you want to look at that, it's in there somewhere, but it must have gotten deleted when we had to move some stuff around. So Andruw Jones, hopefully this time next year, we're welcoming you in to the Hall of Fame. I think next year is the year. We didn't get into it, but if you look at next year's Hall of Fame class, meaning the first people to come in, listen to this real quick. You've got, I don't think there's a single guy here who's going to get any, not just get in, but they may not even, there might be 2 or 3 guys that even get chosen to go on the next year. I'll leave you with this. So you said Ryan Braun, Shin-Soo Choo, Edwin Encarnacion, Alex Gordon.
Who?
Cole Hamels will get more votes than he should just because of this class. One of my favorite players ever, Nick Markakis, but he's not going to get any votes. Matt Kemp, Hunter Pence, one of the best personalities to ever play baseball, and then Rick Porcello. If Andruw doesn't get in next year, he's not getting into the Veterans Committee. And look, he had 66%. So, if you do the math, I think two guys get in next year. I think it's Beltran, and I think it's Andruw Jones. You might get a third sneak in, but honestly, you and I might be the only ones still voting for Omar Vizquel. But the bastard belongs in there. All right, we'll see y'all next time. I know we've gone way past our time. Good talking to you, T. And we get a little closer to the season, we'll talk about something. Maybe do some previews for the American League and everything.
Sounds good, brother.
I hope the hell y'all sign freaking Bregman, because I swear to God, if he's sitting on the bench as a pinch hitter for the Dodgers, I'm going to lose my crap. Because that's where he'd be. Alex Bregman would be a pinch hitter on the Dodgers bench, which is just asinine. Superman can't even get at bats on that team. He's like, dude, I swear I'm good. No. Freddie Freeman, you take the bat. Tell freaking the hell was his name? What was Superman's real name?
Clark Kent.
Yeah, almost called him Reeves because I was thinking of the actor. You tell Kent to go shut the hell up and sit down. Y'all have a good one.